No, look at me doing these sessions, like ending right at midnight, like starting the
Yeah,
chat,
it's
like
really good. Yeah.
not too shabby, not too shabby.
Even though we didn't start on
We're
time
not we're
tonight,
not
but we
starting
still we
till
still
10 p.m. still, yeah, most
Yep.
of the time, but I'm managing to squeeze it into like 2 hours, so
Mm-hmm.
I can't promise it'll happen every time, but it's these last couple have been working out. And I mentioned at the end of the last session that was just, or at the end of this session, the pacing was just perfect with
Yeah,
being
yeah.
able to wrap like all the falling action stuff at the same time. By the way, hello everybody and welcome to Chat from the Deep, our weekly live stream post-session discussion where we talk about what just happened during D&D. This is the chat for session 18. We are fully legal. So if you don't know what
Oh
session
boy.
yet, please go do that now because there will be spoilers. I'm your DM Eric, and we have got Wild's player Chris.
Hello.
Thank goodness for
I got
you,
more
sir.
hazelnuts tonight.
Yeah. I'm trying. I told myself I wasn't gonna have any midnight snacks. It's a bad habit.
Really?
And but I poured myself another rum and coke. So
Okay.
still
That is
still
second.
still Coke Zero,
Still,
still Coke Zero. But
Okay.
yeah, it's alcoholic drink it after midnight. So
Yep.
Gremlin rules. Ray, I miss you. Where are you?
Are we still playing D&D?
We're still playing, man. Every week. We're here every week.
That's right.
Usually. So big story stuff.
you-
Well, we had a boss
did you have
fight,
the others? We did. Yes.
which was a unique boss fight where instead of having to go down and fight the big scary monster, you're going down to rescue
Yep.
the big scary monster. Which
Which I was.
yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead. No, please.
I genuinely wasn't sure through most of it whether there was going to be like a second phase. Like, okay, now you fight the giant monster.
Right. No, it was not a very difficult fight.
Mm.
It wasn't necessarily designed to be a difficult fight either because you guys had been through so much.
Oh right, yeah, I guess that's true. We're at the end of a very long.
Yeah, I mean, this whole dungeon was after a long sequence of
We talked about it
crazy,
last week.
epic
Yeah.
action scenes, and you guys had not long rested at all. Since all that, I think it was a bunch of short rests, and I think I gave Sabra like an extra arcane recovery, but otherwise it was like legit, on your last legs. Now, that being said, you guys still kicked ass through a little bit more than I even thought you would through that final dungeon. And I was thinking about maybe adding another wave of skeletons or something in here, which is actually has scripted in that fight. I guess I can go back to that map. I actually put us on the Neverwinter map. There's supposed to be both allies and enemies that spawn after a couple rounds. The priest shows up with those Koatoa,
Okay.
and then a bunch of skeletons also show up.
Mm.
But that would have added to a lot of the chaos.
Yeah.
I really didn't want to have the Aboleth have more allies because I wanted you guys to be like the saviors and not have like other allies. At some point, it's like, well, why are the players there then?
Right.
And I don't know, the skeleton, they're just not very fun. Like, it's numbers.
They're just skeletons. Yeah.
Well, I guess I was playing it by ear and be like, all right, if they literally take out like all the skeletons in one round, I'm gonna have to add more skeletons to the fight. Like, I had some on the map just in case,
Right.
but actually we were missing some attacks and things were
That's
happening.
true. We did. Yeah, we did have some misses. Yeah.
So I was like, I think we're fine with just what the numbers we have on there. So it was just the initial fight. How'd you feel about me hand waving the two like bosses nailing each other? Because I went back and forth about doing that.
That was fine. Outside of the one time I wanted you to roll a hit so I could use
Which
it.
I was like, that's fair. That's totally fair. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I felt you describing like, oh yeah, well, especially because the Aboleth, for the most part, wasn't attacking until I guess the end he was. But you describing like, oh yeah, he's paralyzed and the pirate captain is just stabbing him to death.
Yeah.
Like that was more like, what do you call it, motivation, really. And you could have rolled dice, but at that point, like, you have to either do your behind the screen DM adjudication on either the dice rolls, like just saying like, oh, it happens, by narrative storytelling,
Yeah.
or on the life, because you can't, I assume you don't want the pirate captain to actually kill the Aboleth.
Well, hit points weren't going to matter either way for the most part. Like the Aboleth,
Yeah.
like as scripted with the adventure, it's like, hey, they both have half health, and then they're just gonna go. And I'm looking at the stats, going, this Aboleth's gonna kill everything in the room. Like, there's no question about what's gonna happen. So I'm like, I can't roll its attacks. Like, it's gonna feel weird for the. Now, I could play with the fact that the captain has a unique undead stat block that does allow him to paralyze somebody.
Mm.
And I thought, well, great, that's cool. I can get that off, and then that will be the good excuse for taking the Aboleth out, and a great excuse for having. Because one thing I thought, I was like, oh crap, well, the Skeletons are engaged with the Aboleth, so they start trying to deal with the players, and they're starting getting attacks opportunity. It's just going to get annihilated. But because we could paralyze the creature, then we could send off the minions to have you properly deal with them. So I did like the fact that we could still have it be kind of a rescue mission, still be able to still hit you guys with those forces. But I also, if you notice, I don't think ever actually attacked you guys with the captain either. I had him because he was like laser focused on the Aboleth. That was his whole thing. And I think that went pretty well with the fact that you guys weren't in any serious danger necessarily. Although if that ongoing effect, which was I played around with, that's a layer action of the Aboleths. Is to get that effect off. So I just try to narrate it cinematically as like, all right, well, this is the one I want to do like every round as like he's in danger, and this is like just the effect happening to every. I'm really liking to scale up difficulty and make fights interesting, which we did this with the harbor fights, is like just have ongoing effects that players are having to deal with every round.
Yeah.
In addition to whatever the actual like enemy creatures are. Of course, it's spiced rum. Demnix, is there any other kind? Please. Wait, it's delicious. I drink way too much of it, but it's delicious. Yeah, but I wanted to hand wave its attacks and just kind of narrate it cinematically because it's very powerful. But on the other hand, I also wanted to explain like it's getting very damaged, like it got paralyzed, and you think that if you I wanted to convey the fact that if you hadn't shown up, it really would have been a life or death situation for this creature, but because you did show up, that allowed it, similar to the harbor situation. It's like you guys aren't single-handedly the things that are going to come in and save everything, but because you're there, you help turn the tide.
Sure.
Water pun. And help like rescue whatever situation was in, and this was definitely the case for that.
Yeah,
I forget how much hit points it started out, but I was legit tracking it at one point, and then you did do with your crit like exactly the 16 that was left on there. So it's like, all right,
really?
That'll kill him off. Yeah,
nice.
Which was good timing because I didn't.
I mean, like I said, you never had the captain attack us, so damage wise, most of the damage I think came from the water
that rage thing. Yeah, and then I think the occasional skeleton might have hit one or two or something. Yeah, so hopefully it was climactic more for the story than the tense like tactical battle, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Right, I agree. Yeah, and I think that the story bit that came afterwards was riveting. Like maybe it's because it was so plot heavy and like, okay, here's the hook. Like it's literally like I don't know. In a season of TV, like episode 3 or 4, where at the end of it, you like really find out. Like,
shoe drops.
No. Yeah, here's what the show is actually about.
Yeah.
Like, oh, all right, now we're invested.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is something that I disagreed with vehemently from Call from the Deep, where it tells you everything right at the beginning. And
really?
Then you go off and investigate. Yeah, they're like, hey, fucking Mind Flayer ship crashed in this island. You gotta go check it out.
Yeah.
And then soon after you start learning everything about, and I want to keep that like obfuscated for a while. But we got to this point, I'm like, all right, now this is the perfect opportunity with this particular creature, which I think is scripted to know what's going on. That part is from Call from the Deep. But what I wanted to do was the classic like twist of a creepy monster who's actually going to be a surprising ally, which I think I've managed to do in all of my campaigns at least once.
Yeah.
This may be the most surprising entity that I've managed to unleash. But we had a very unique connection with Toril, and I could play on that, and then I could drop the bomb that like, oh, this is a Great Expectation style, where it's like, I was your benefactor the whole time, and you just didn't even know it. Which that... I went back and forth on. I wasn't necessarily locked into that when we started the campaign. There are some story things that I'm locked into, and I'm like, this is what's happening. And others, I'm like, we'll figure that out later, and we'll just see where the story goes. And I was still figuring this one out. I was like, this is a possibility. It could be one of the benefactors. I could use Lord Neverember as the benefactor. Like, I could, there's different entities out there. But as we got closer, I was like, yeah, I think we can work with this. I think with Toril's connection specifically, and play on the and Gottwald hates Tentrix. Like we'll be able. My big worry is like you guys would come kind of like I get you and Sabret obviously some trepidation, which is justified. It's like why the fuck would we work with this creature? Like this is crazy. But hopefully with those previous throughout the scene,
at least for my character, it was like the hatred of Tentrix overweighed.
like you said that one thing and you're like on board.
Yeah.
You're like all right, fine.
Yeah. Yeah, and Sovereign took some more convincing because, like, yeah, it's like, oh,
She's like,
you're
"Where's my
asking us to
reward?
do-
I need
you're asking us to do this
tangible
big thing.
rewards."
Why? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in this case, he's like, "Hey, what I want to do is like, I'm your information broker. Like, I'm your quest giver. Like, now I know information, and that's what you need at the moment. Is like, where do we go from next? Because
It's kind of the classic, like not maybe not guild, but like home base quest giver NPC that is sort of your Charlie to your Charlie's Angels sort
Yeah.
of situation.
yeah, it's a giant tentacle monster, Charlie.
That's right.
The
No,
reward,
I thought the actual like I don't know, the voice was really good, and the plot stuff was really good. So I feel like all three of us were very like, I don't know if you noticed, but while you were talking, it was just very like just all of us like watching a movie. It was like we were all just like watching,
Yeah.
just dialed in, you know.
yeah, it's cool. And we don't do too many of those. I feel like we're doing like real. I mean, we're still making jokes, but like we're like real serious like story moments that are important. And I knew this was going to be a big one because this was a major situation that happened, and so there's going to be a major thing, and it really does. This would be like the end of a season,
Yeah.
basically in our TV show is like the big
Right,
like
right.
revelation, like oh shit, and then this guy's behind everything, and now we've got all these different paths to go on, and then the new season starts.
Right.
And I definitely had the specific quests lined up to show you guys. I had that organized with him having some quest ideas, even Lord Neverember being able to give you some quest ideas. So it wasn't necessarily all like working for this creature. There were some other like things going on, but
Right,
everything
yeah.
tied into this attack. Like there wasn't going to be any, at least at the moment, just random ass side quests. Like it was this attack was so important, and all the quests are kind of main quests in a weird way. Like they're all have to do with following up on this attack.
Right. The fallout from what? Yeah. The attack itself. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what a list is, Sylvan. I'm not privy to the conversation.
Is a better character?
Maybe
Like a list of
she
spells?
is so giddy. Holy crap. She's so excited about level 6. It is adorable.
Well, that's
Jumping
I
up
mean,
and down.
when she first made the character, she's like, I'm making a necromancer.
yeah.
It's like, all right, but yes,
It does suck you
necromancer-
have to wait so
it
long.
doesn't. You don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't come online until considerably later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, level wise,
I mean,
pacing wise is something that's almost locked in
Yeah.
from the start of the campaign when I was really figuring out where things.
Undead. That's the list.
Oh, okay, fine, fantastic, good pun stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, so the level pacing is something that's that I've got pretty locked in.
Yes.
Although it will change
Which
depending
makes
on
sense.
which quest chain you go down will kind of change which level you are for those things, but hopefully it's not going to matter too much in terms of balancing purposes. But
Yeah.
you've essentially entered the like open world portion at this level.
You're right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's felt fairly directed for the last 7, 8 sessions, I suppose.
Yes,
But yes, it's like okay, and I like that you just even told us like this is the end of Act 1. You're moving into the
Yeah.
new chapter. It's like, all right, this is the
and I've talked about this in the crafting streams, but what I like from campaigns, and I try to pace some of my adventures like this, is to have those contracting moments where things probably start off pretty linearly as you introduce the world and the inciting incident and stuff, and then at some point the world opens up, as usually after a big moment, and then we can go do things.
Yeah.
And then you'll have these moments that are very important that then go into linear action.
right
Again,
Yes.
Our Rhyme campaign, not to spoil things too much, actually started off a little more open worldy, although you still kind of went in a linear direction around the towns. Had a very clear with the Dwerger plot line with okay, that's a linear thing we have to take care of now. And then it opens up again, and now we've got all these different quest lines to go to. And then eventually you get to the, where you're only doing main quest, and then it kind of closes again.
Sure. Yeah.
This one is pretty simple,
like
where it
that.
was pretty
Yeah.
linear. You had a little bit of open on the island where you could choose kind of the order in which you want to do
Yes.
things. And then after the island, obviously, this was a very linear event. And now we're going to open things up again and give you guys a chance to have. And I just gave you a bunch of multiple quests to actually tackle.
Right.
I don't know if you've ever had multiple quests necessarily to like that were completely separate like areas and quest lines to go on.
Yeah. That very much reminds me of Rhyme, where it's like, okay, you
Yeah.
got like here's your open world quests. Which ones do you want to go to? Yeah.
And this, for folks watching, this is where we're going to introduce and I'm going to implement more of the Ghosts of Saltmarsh content into Call from the Deep. We've already used 2 modules from Ghosts of Saltmarsh, which was the very beginning of this campaign, with Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh, the haunted house and the smuggling den and the ship, and Salvage Operation, which was the wreck with that was being destroyed basically while you guys were trying to run out of it, was another module.
Right.
Everything else has been from Call from the Deep so far, including this dungeon map was all from Call from the Deep. And then I'm looking forward to, and Call from the Deep also has an open world section here. Basically, it's very much like the Storm King's Thunder chapter, Chris, where it's like, here's 30 locations around the
yes.
entire ocean.
Here's what's
And
going
there's
on
in
in
a
each
couple
one.
paragraphs.
Want to go there?
Yeah, of like an encounter. Some of them are like small dungeons, kind of like this one.
Yeah. Okay.
And those look pretty interesting. But it's a lot of like things, and then I'm using the opportunity to basically create bigger quest chain, fewer but bigger quest chains, and then implementing entire modules from Ghosts of Saltmarsh for some of them.
Right. I will say, I don't know if any of the other players care about it, but I do love the interconnected world stuff that's in some of these campaigns. Like, I do love that Slarkathel is a genuine like menace in Storm King's Thunder, but he's not your final villain.
Yeah.
So he can show up in this campaign as well, I don't know if he's going to be the final villain or not.
Gosh,
but
I forgot to do a fun tease where because we kind of forgot Kalinar was there in the room,
yes.
but I was gonna have him. I wasn't gonna do your voice, but I was just gonna mention the fact that he was gonna go help. He was gonna travel down to Waterdeep next because he's got an old friend there, which was me referencing Miri, who
Oh yeah, okay.
went to Waterdeep.
Yeah.
He's gonna go down there
She ended up
and-
being a lord there or something, right? Yeah.
basically help like defend that city, make sure they're prepped, and tell them about everything that just happened
Yeah,
here. He's just going
yeah.
down the coast, basically taking things. So yeah, I like the idea that we can use these guys. And I've mentioned the fact that I haven't been able to do that because my last 2 campaigns, Tomb and Rhyme, were in completely exotic,
Yes,
remote
yes.
locations of the world, and it wouldn't make a lot of
For
sense
sure.
to have those characters just showing up there without
And
being
my last
very
campaign
contrived.
was in another dimension.
Yeah.
It's not even.
So we really haven't been able to do it other than like these
No.
slight references here or there. But this one, I'm like, all right, I've got to be able to use like direct people cameos and having like, you know, Homelander show up and all these other like fun little bits. They're like, oh shit, it's that, you know, or the MCU
Yeah.
thing.
These are in the same universe.
Yeah. I do love my shared universe things.
Yep. I like that too because I mean I just remember thinking I mean even when I was running Storm King's Thunder I remember thinking like all right the idea of Slarkathel is cool but as written it's like he's this like unknowable terrible entity that does this terrible thing like he's involved in capturing the giant lord but he's not something you could fight. He's not like a threat you could put down. He's just you have to run away from him.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, that's cool. I hope they address that at some point. So I don't know if they fully address it here, but it's neat that it's like he's coming back.
Yeah, I can't say anything else, but
Yeah,
I enjoyed the fact that, I mean, when Toril said he was going to do a Fathomless Warlock, I was like, well, this is a gift
Yeah,
for
there
me
you go.
because I can do all kinds of shit with that. And I even went back and forth on like, should this Aboleth be just his patron? Maybe that's the twist. Like he's the patron.
Like, which one's the patron? Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
And I did some more research about it. It's like, no, I feel like Aboleths are very powerful, but like to really like literally bestow somebody with magical powers and stuff, I feel like it's either a god, a devil, or some kind of like just ancient avatar creature, which Slarkathel definitely fits the bill. But that's a great, motivation for Toril, and hopefully we can find something that piques Savra's interest. She's just kind of in it for the money and the power. She's the most freelancer one. You obviously got
what is because I feel like we touched on not Max a little bit with the city stuff.
Yeah,
But mine
yeah. Unfortunately,
and
Mac would have
Toro's
been
a
nice,
lot.
great to have in this session because
Yeah.
of the Neverwinter being able to talk to the people and all that would have been.
But what even is Savra? I can't even remember what Savra's is.
It's still pretty nebulous. I hope.
Okay,
I
okay.
will say I mentioned I teased a lizard folk thing before with the I
Okay.
think the Sawagan thing. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can build on that. But it's up to her character ultimately if she wants to have
Yeah.
those kind of ties or if she's just in it for kind of the money and the power, which is
Right.
fair motivation.
I seem to remember something. Wasn't there something about like a star? There's something about her, like her background was like, I saw a star or something.
Yeah.
don't
Well, I think
remember. It
she
was, like,
was she the haunted one? Is that what her?
Yeah. Right.
'Cause
Yeah.
that's like
yeah.
one of the things.
Right. One of the background options.
Yeah. Yeah, she's the haunted one. Like born under a dark star or something.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
trying.
know,
I'm
it
trying
may-
to pull
it may not
those.
come up, but
you know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
Mac, I wanted to have like a specific character, like an NPC, like get kidnapped with
Yes.
that he cared about. So hopefully, I can create those motivations because that's definitely
Yeah.
always a DM concern is like make them care about something. Anytime they can, give me a name or a place or just something you care about, so I can draw from that.
Exactly.
But with some people having those.
That's actually amazing. Tom's like, at some point, next campagn, you guys are about to go up against a lizard folk.
A lizard folk
lich.
lich, yeah, like that's gonna be a
That
tricky
would be
one.
Just a straight bad guy. She just becomes
Just
a
a
fucking
straight
lich.
villain with her own like castle and shit. Yeah,
Yep. That'd be hilarious.
I do love her aversion to water is fantastic in a
Yeah.
water themed nautical campaign. It's like
Yes.
having BA Baracus and trying to get on the plane every time. Like,
Right. Yeah, for
just
sure.
we're gonna have to get in the water occasionally, Safra.
It's happening.
it's
It's just
we may have to drug you, but
yep.
it's gonna have to happen. I don't know what to tell you.
Yep.
Yeah, and I did mention in crafting, and I made that joke about how I always do the body horror with Reese. I don't know what it is
Yes.
about
That is
the kind of characters he plays, the kind of stuff that is fun to do with him, but we just end up doing some
It
kind
just
of
works
unique.
out.
It just works out. That I mean, like he literally picked the character that was like perfect to have this happen here too.
Yeah.
But I was cognizant of like, look, I don't want to turn him to like one of those like aboleth creature things or anything crazy like that. Like at least yet.
Right.
And this gives me a unique opportunity because a lot of times with this world, I'm always like, well, gosh, unless you're like operating on a local scale with the city, it's really hard to like check in with your like boss, your quest giver, and like
Yes.
actually make that matter after you officially learn, like get that information. And if we're
Right.
about to go out in the ocean and do all this other crap, like when are we going to even have that kind of build up? So I wanted to
Yeah,
make sure,
yeah.
other than handing somebody a sending stone, be like, hey, here's their cell phone, we can keep in touch, which I've
Right.
done. Hey, let's just do this magical thing that, okay, now you're just linked to this creature permanently and you can converse with each other and boom,
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. That's yep.
Keep each other
Makes sense.
updated on that.
Yeah, because yeah, you're right. It is like when are you gonna get back? When are you gonna be back here again? Right? Like it's just
Yeah, what I
maybe never.
haven't been able to do well or having an opportunity to do is, I guess Ryan was probably the closest, which is to have like a hub area and then explore around it, but be able to return to that hub area frequently enough and then build up those relationships and stuff. We did that a little bit with Rhyme. I think we went to Bryn Shander like 3 or 4 times over the course of the campaign, which was probably
Right.
the most we had. Maybe checked in like 3 times or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know,
That's
even then,
true.
you
Yeah,
go,
we did,
you
yeah.
just have to travel further and further away, and you're just not even like checking in very well.
Right.
With Tomb, there was nothing like that because you just went to the jungle and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And then with here, you've been zipping around to different locations this whole time. Finally circling technically back to Neverwinter. I guess our prologue session 0 was started
Oh
here.
right, we left from here. Yeah.
Yeah.
To start the. And I think both of us should keep the pacing of this episode in mind in the future because I've realized, maybe not on this session, but this session backed it up. When you're doing a boss fight, you want the boss fight to be the very fucking first thing
Yeah,
that happens.
For sure.
Because following action is so important after a boss fight.
Yeah.
And when you do the boss fight starting halfway through the session, you got no time for it at the end.
Yeah.
You just have to start going like, and you guys look at the dungeon, and you get this, and you get that, and you just, you end up just hand waving so much stuff. Where I feel like in this session, you had a lot of time to sort of like let us explore the narrative stuff at the end of the boss fight. Let us explore the
We had a ton of time, yeah.
yeah.
I was actually worried at one point that like, oh shit, we're gonna like I'm gonna have to end this session early if we get to this fight too fast.
Mm.
But we started missing attacks, and it actually took up longer than I thought it would. But when initially you guys just started kicking ass, I was like, dang, this is gonna go by really quick. And I was like, all right, I will immediately shut the Aboleth down and leave him paralyzed like a couple rounds, and just have the skeleton, and then it ended up taking a decent amount of time still.
But I'm just remembering so many boss fights where like you and I both have like set up like the journey to the boss being in the same session as the boss.
Yeah.
And that the end result of that being you end up just rushing to the after effect after you finish the fight.
Yeah,
but I feel like this is the right timing. This session is the right cadence of like doing a climactic fight and then having the narrative action and then having the falling action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the best boss fights we've had have like started at the start of a session too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so.
And that's pacing is you can plan it, but it's just hard depending on what's going to happen in the session. It's not scripted. You can you can plan for the script as much as you want, but it just how the dice goes, what the actions people do. Sometimes turns just take longer, whatever happens.
Right.
But I am leaning towards like in the future, like even if I feel like I've got, it's only like 11:30 my time or something, and we're not going to start this boss fight, but I'm like, maybe I should just end the session early. And then we can start a boss fight next session if I know this is like a major moment with some important stuff afterwards.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I don't think hasn't come up yet, but it's something I should be cognizant about. Is like, or be willing to stop it like halfway in a fight, which is very rare.
Neither one of us.
We hate stopping in the middle of a fight because it's real awkward. But it does come up where it's like this is just it needs to end here because man just the general energy level of trying to end as close to midnight as possible. Obviously it'd be great if we could start earlier, but we got fucking kids and everything is tricky. But
yeah.
And it's 90% usually my kids are being a pain in the ass. But the end time seems to be just works really really well for this group.
Yeah,
and we don't take a break. That's a big thing. Like we just did the Patreon game last night, which we go 3 hours. Sometimes we do 4, but I've been thankfully getting closer to 3 most of the time. And we do a break halfway. We do like a solid 10-minute break. We used to.
Back in the day, we used to.
I think we did.
When we stopped.
We did longer set when we were actually starting at like 9:30, and we go longer. Yeah, but here I think that's the trade-off is we don't do the break, but we just go a solid like 2 hours or so.
Yep.
I think we could go longer if we started earlier, but I don't think we can go longer by going later is something I've definitely...
Yes. We could go longer by going later, but just the
payoff is very...
The engagement starts
it's a real fall
dwindling.
Yeah, unless it's like we need to just like finish this combat round, like another round or two, and then I might just end things. But yeah, for boss fights especially, I agree. I think having it be able to kick off right at the start of a session has worked very, very well. And boss fights usually take a full session, though, frankly. This one did not. This one, it was a very short and, like, not too crazy about it.
Yep.
So we could still fit the entire falling action, which was very handy, because I had a lot of falling action with this one. This was a big one. I had scripted a lot of stuff involved, a lot of story stuff that we learned, new quests to give everybody. Yeah, it was a big narrative episode, while still having a big fight at the start of it. And we'll start with more narrative stuff too, frankly. Like you've got more like leads and stuff, so we're actually going to go from narrative to narrative scene, which is good. Pacing wise, we had a ton of action and combat for
like 3
sessions. Yeah, we blew our whole budget for the season, and now we need to
we're gonna have a talkie.
We're gonna have to have a talkie episode, like half of this episode, and then like probably most of next episode. Frankly, with the level up and everything, I could see us very much like just having mostly a talkie episode. Next episode, and figuring out where you're going to go next. Now, normally I'd be very nervous about that and have to ask you guys, okay, which quest line do you want to go on? But this one, it was designed. Well, yes, but this one was designed like you need more information first. Like you need to literally go talk to your contacts and get that context, so you don't know. Like, so I couldn't really ask you that without further like going down those quest lines. And again, I'm confident one of them is way closer than the others. That you will be tackling that one next.
It's just going to make the most sense.
Yeah, so I can work on that one next.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else about session 18?
Good one.
Good one. Yeah, I liked it. All right, that'll do it for this chat from the deep. Thank you to Chris. Thank you to all the wonderful fans for watching. Thank you to the patrons. And we will see you next week.
See you next week.